Need water.
Maybe he can move a little bit to the, if he can move a little bit to the.
No, it's fine, just close it. We're not gonna, oh,
Let's move up a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah, that way you get more.
Yes.
You're doing good TV.
there we are.
And
The
take it
camera
home.
is right here. We don't have my phone, do you have it? All right, well, welcome
you.
speaker. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
It's a very exciting day in Lynwood. This is what I call a heart-to-heart, where I bring in special guests to talk about fun, wonderful, sometimes important issues that are happening in our community here. So I'm happy to welcome you to our heart-to-heart for the month of July. Thank you very much. And for everyone watching, thanks for joining us. This is, we have Speaker of the California State Assembly, Anthony Rendon, here joining us today. He has had this position since March 2016. Now, I want to read a little bit about him. Since 2012, Assembly Speaker Rendon has represented the 63rd Assembly District, which includes 9 cities, the cities of Bell, Cudahy, Hawaiian Garden, Lakewood, Lynwood, Maywood, Paramount, Southgate, and the northern portion of Long Beach, along with Lynwood. He is the son of working-class parents and grandson of Mexican immigrants. Rendon was far from a high-achieving student, was carrying a grade point average of 0.83 and nearly flunking out of high school. Yet, here he is, Speaker for the Assembly. He is also a product of community colleges. And from what I remember, Speaker, I know they gave me a big biography about you, but we all know you to have been a voice for our community for many, many years, since before 2016, and an advocate for our families, and especially children. So I believe this year has been a very successful year in your career as a leader for our communities and our voice, and a voice for our communities. I am proud to be a mayor of the city of Lynwood this particular year, 2021, not only because it is our centennial year here in our community, but because I think what you have accomplished as speaker for cities in our Sala region is beyond words. It is the help that you are getting for our communities comes at a time when our communities have a great need for this type of funding. So welcome, Speaker Rendon, and I want to give you the floor now so that you can speak on your the work at the state level for our community.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Good seeing you. Thank you. It's good to be here in Lynwood, which is one of the 9 cities that I represent. A city that's very important to me. It's just coming down the street right now. My first campaign office was just down the corner when I ran for office in 2012. And you're right. Prior to serving in the assembly, I worked for a number of nonprofit organizations, the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation, Plaza de la Raza, provided childcare in the Sala region, but especially in Lynwood. We had, I think of at least 2 centers that I operated in the city of Lynwood. And for me, early childhood education, I should back up a little bit. I ran 2 different types of programs. I ran gang programs, first-time offenders, at-risk youth programs. And then a little later, I ran early childhood education programs. And you discover really quickly that those families, those communities, those individuals who have a good, solid early childhood education background often don't need the intervention programs later down the road. They don't need the gang programs, the first-time offender programs, the at-risk youth programs. So for me, I always saw those childcare programs as a way of building community, as a way of building families. I would probably still be running nonprofit organizations if it wasn't for 2010. 2010, 2011, there were about $1.2 billion in cuts to early childhood education programs, the programs that I cared the most about. And a few of us got really involved, a few of us in the early childhood education field got really involved and political. We went up to Sacramento to find out why they were cutting our programs, since we knew we were having such a big impact on the community. The answers we got weren't good enough. So Holly Mitchell was one of my colleagues in early childhood education. She ran for office. A little later, I ran for office. Now there's about 4 early childhood education professionals in the legislature, and I think that makes a big difference. This year, for example, in the state budget, we allocated enough funds to have transitional kindergarten for the first time in history of the state. Only the state of Oklahoma and the state of Washington have transitional kindergarten. Great states, great accomplishments, but those states are nowhere near the size of 40 million people like California. So for us to do it, I think is a big statement. It's a big statement nationally and internationally. And those are the types of things that are so important to me, and I know so important to the Southern region, and so important to Lynwood.
Yes. And no, thank you for that, speaker. Also, I know that we usually talk to people. I bring people who lead with their heart, and I think you're one of those people. And I also, before we continue, I'd like to let the community know that here sitting to my right is our new city manager, Ernie Hernandez. We also have Councilwoman Rita Soto here, and Mayor Pro Tem Jorge Casanova has joined us. Across the way from the speaker is Adrian Landa, the speaker's right-hand person. Second right hand, because Diana Morales is his first right hand person. And but it is very important being someone who comes from the community and who has worked in the community for so many years. And I don't just speak for myself, but as well as my colleagues, and we're missing a few of my colleagues, but we are all from Lynwood for Lynwood. So it is so important for all of us to get to know and see the work that is being done by our legislators up in Sacramento, up in DC, that is reflective of the communities that they represent. So that is so important. And also, it is important for us to see our representatives be in our communities. And that is something that I admire about the work that you do, about the work that your representatives do. You let yourself be known. And you've been around ever since I can remember. So, I mean, would you like to talk about that? How that's something that's important for you?
Yeah,
being
sure.
A representative for us.
Thanks for asking. It's funny. This is a huge state. I belong to a lot of national conferences of different state legislators. A lot of states you can sort of drive from one end to the other in a couple of hours. Here, every day I wake up, I'm 400 miles from my home, 400 miles from my constituents, 400 miles from the schools, the communities that I represent. To have Adrian, when I'm in Sacramento, Adrian represents me here in Lynwood. If there's any problems, people go to Adrian and say, we need help. What I always tell people about this state, it's a state of 40 million people. Think of a country like Ireland. There's 5 million people in Ireland. There's 3 million people in El Salvador. This is a huge state, an incredibly huge state by population and by geography. And I always tell people when you talk to your representatives, you should talk the way you just talked to me about the community. It has to be about the community, because it's in a state this big, it's very easy to get sort of lost in the fact that there's 40 million people, the fact that we're the home of Silicon Valley and Hollywood, and we're the home of the ports and all those different things, all these huge things. But really, when it comes down to it, it really comes down to the people in the district who elect us. When I'm in Sacramento, when I get either Zooms or phone calls from people in the district, and they say, I'm from Lynwood, my kids go to Firebaugh High School, we go to this church, that gets my attention because I'm 400 miles away. And for me, the best way to, the best legislators are the legislators who really remember where they're from, who really remember the community and the people. Because ultimately, as you know, as you all know, as council members, people believe in government or they don't believe in government if it works for them, or if it doesn't work for them. If your problems are getting solved, then you think government is working. If the parks are clean and available, then people think government works for them. And it's very easy, and I do it. I can say, oh, we spent $12 billion on homelessness. Oh, we spent $21,000 per child per school. Nobody cares about that. They care about the homeless person in the alley behind them. They care about the school in their community. And I think for someone like me, who came from community-based nonprofit organizations, I always make it a point to continue to wear that hat and to think about the impact that the $12 billion is having on a particular part of Lynwood, on a particular part of Bell, on a particular part of Maywood. For me, it's about that granular level and the community itself.
No, thank you. And I, like I said, as an elected here in Lynwood, it's very much appreciated. Last year, well, we learned early this year that the city of Lynwood was the epicenter of COVID. And I want to share with the folks watching and my colleagues here, the city manager who is not here as well, that you actually stepped up to the plate when we were, all of us, not just Lynwood, but all of the satellite communities, we were wondering where the vaccine was, considering that we were the hardest hit, we were the epicenter of COVID, yet the vaccine wasn't coming to us. And you were the first representative to step up to the plate and write a letter on behalf of all of our cities to send it up to the governor. So thank you very much for that. And it is appreciated, and we see it, we see the work. And so we know, I think all of us have seen what you're doing for all of us, being a voice for all of us, for our families, for our children, in regards to healthcare and jobs and the vaccine, of course. But from what I understand, you have a bigger surprise for the city of Lynwood in terms of the budget.
Right.
That just passed. So do you want to tell us a little bit
Sure,
about
I
that?
do. The budget this year was interesting. There was a point this year where we thought we were going to have, I got a report probably in January that we were going to have a $25 billion budget deficit. Then all of a sudden revenue started looking better, and then revenue looked incredible. So we ended up with a significant budget surplus. It's important, earlier I talked about the fact that we're spending $12 billion. Wow, that's a lot of money. At the same time, we're going to have a $25 billion budget reserve in this state. We're going to have what we call a rainy day fund, a savings account of $25 billion. I talked earlier, I belong to a lot of national organizations, national speakers conferences, 50 speakers throughout the country. And our budget is the envy of the United States. Our savings account, our rainy day fund of $25 billion is larger than the operating budgets of 33 states. Just what we have in the bank is more than what 33 states spend per year. So we're proud of that too. We're proud of the fact that we're putting money away because we know the economy runs in a cycle and eventually we'll have a downturn. But while we have money, I wanted to make sure that, again, because my being speaker is only relevant if I'm able to serve the community. I wanted to make sure that we did serve the community. So we allocated about $10 million for local parks in the 9 cities that I represent, including $1.5 million for parks, facilities, and park related aspects for the city of Lynwood. And I know I just went past 2 parks on the way over here. I know how important they are to you, and know how important they are to the city and the city staff. So we're gonna we are allocating $1.5 million to the city of Lynwood, because parks are so incredibly important to our community.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I think we have a lot of work. Too bad the council member whose focus is parks is not here with
But he's
us.
online, I think, so
I
I
think
saw his name.
he's online, I think. Say hi, Oscar.
Hi, Oscar.
Oscar Flores, I think he's on there. But we do have several projects in line and that are coming online hopefully in the next couple of years. And I know that the funding is going to help with that. It's going to go a long way.
Good.
So we have several parks. We have one little park that we really need to focus on. It's been sort of neglected for many, many years. And that'll be something that we can help to revitalize for the neighborhoods. You know, it's important that we take care of the green space that we have because we don't have that much of it. So I'd like to let our city manager say a few words in regards to the funding and.
Well, I mean, I've now been here just a few months. I have a relationship with your office
Sure.
for years now, and I do appreciate, I think, obviously, big ticket items like helping our parks. But I just want to express my gratification for the day-to-day relationship we have with your office and assistance with not only the state offices, but just local nonprofits. And anytime we need help, you know, I call your staff and get very good reception. So I do want to thank you for that because we really are going to appreciate those dollars because we haven't had an opportunity to address our parks in a long time. But on behalf of the staff, at least, the day-to-day help we get on running the city is very much appreciated.
Thanks, I appreciate that. You know, I think it's really important that at the state level, we allocate a lot of funds to school districts and to cities. And it's no secret we've had governance problems in the Southeast in the past. For me to serve with you three and Oscar and Jose, for me to be able to hand over a check to a council, a city manager, city staff that I know are gonna use it and use it wisely and use it effectively. Again, I come from the community where I'm used to a hands-on approach. That's not my job in the legislature, unfortunately. So I always want to do more. I always want to, but to be able to hand it over to folks who I know are responsible and to do it the right way, that's what we hope for, and that's why I'm so happy to be able to work with all of you and to be able to do this. It means a lot.
Thank you, Speaker. Council members, would you say a few words?
Well, few words is thank you very much for this opportunity, for bringing this money. And I know Oscar is really happy on the other side right now. He's jumping probably. And we all happy. I'm really excited because this is being a teacher. I know how our kids need these parks to exercise, especially now after the COVID-19.
Right.
It's a really good opportunity. And yes, we will use the money really appropriate to support our community and support our kids over here. Thank you very much. And we always appreciate what you're doing for our community because like Mayor said, you're always here when we need you. If you're not here, you send your representatives, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can't say enough. You know, anytime that I've reached out to Adrian, he's always been there. I spent a couple of months trying to get a hold of some folks. All it took was a phone call. Adrian lined up another phone call for us, and we got some answers that we're looking for. So, you know, always there for us. So I appreciate that. Anytime we've reached out again, your representatives and yourself have always been there. So thank you. Our parks are in dire need. You know, I think COVID really put a strain on a lot of folks, and they are bursting out into our parks. Mm-hmm. And you know, we really need the money to get them up to par. So thank you. It's very well needed and very much well appreciated. So thank you for coming down today. You know, it speaks volumes just the fact that you're here, spending a couple of minutes with us, and letting the community see you, and just the fact that you know our high school in our backyard, right. You know, the name of our parks, of our businesses here. I mean, it just that's huge, you know, and it really connects you to our community and to us. And you know, that's what it's about, what it should really be about. That's what government should be about. So we really appreciate you coming down and bringing us generous check. So, and to, for thinking about us. I know that the budget is huge. It's stressful. You can spend a lot of time, but the fact that you're able to squeeze that in for us is just, like, huge. So thank you again.
Speaking of check, the speaker wanted to surprise you all
Oh, wow, look
with
at
this
that.
symbolic check.
It's not real.
Oh,
Don't try to cash it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a check from the state of California, the city of Lynwood, for community facilities, park or recreational facilities, construction, acquisition, and improvements. Again, I know you all
awesome.
spend it well and wisely.
Can we
No,
show
thank
them?
you.
Yeah.
All right,
Of
here's
course.
our.
I want to cover up the council members. Why don't you guys get close?
Maybe back here?
Close over
Maybe
here.
back here?
Oh, good. Yeah.
Thank you, just so, all right, well, okay, you got it? You got it. I don't want to let it go, so, all right.
Okay,
So,
my friend.
all right, well, here you go, community. In the state of
Can
California.
someone read it out?
Okay.
Pay to the order of the city of Lynwood, $1.5 million from the state of California for community facilities, park or recreational facilities, construction, acquisition, and improvements.
Wow.
Yeah,
you.
wow,
Thank you.
thank you.
From wherever you're watching, please give Assembly Speaker a big round of applause. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the much needed funding for our community. Like I said, it couldn't have come at a better time. We're just coming out of a pandemic.
Right.
And every penny counts. And thank you for entrusting us with these funds. We will absolutely use it wisely. We are at a point in our city where we have a council where its members do lead with their heart, and we are doing our best to move forward in a positive way, not looking back, just making sure that we can change the things that we can change. So thank you very much for helping us.
Great
Thank you.
council.
Thank you very much. All right.
Also,
Okay, so
Thank
let
you.
me put this down.
Yes, I'll
And-
keep it in my office.
There you go.
And let me just close out. I think that the speaker has to leave. So we'll let him say some closing remarks. But we have to leave now, and we appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Again, ultimately, the work we do in Sacramento is really dependent on the work that the local elected officials, local city staff, school board staff, water board staff, the work that they do. And like I said earlier, I used to teach classes in government, and people are so interested in federal politics and state politics to an extent. I always told my students, I'd say the things that impact your life more than anything are made at the local government level. The decisions made by council members, by school board members, by water board members, those are the decisions that impact your life way more than at the federal government level or at the state government level. So again, to be working with such great partners means the world to me, and I know it means so much to the residents of Lynwood as well.
Great.
And I guess council member Solachi is there too.
Is
He was raising his hand.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, let's see, participants. Yeah, let me see if, yeah, I don't want to mess with it.